Everybody, welcome back to the Jack Stands podcast. We are here in the garage studio, and today we are talking about one of the most debated topics in the Japanese car scene, and, well, maybe not the most debated, but probably top 3, maybe top 5 debated topics in the Japanese car scene, and that is the top 5 underrated Japanese cars. Now, this is my opinion, and I realize because I have an opinion on Japanese cars, that means I am objecting myself to hate on the internet. And that is okay, because listen, my top 5 underrated Japanese cars may not be your top 5 underrated Japanese cars. And that's okay. We're allowed to have different lists. That is 100% fine. I can tell you right now, the R30, the R34 Skyline and the Mark IV Supra are not on this list. And they probably wouldn't be on my list for top 5 JDM cars because I think, like, as cool as they are, they're in a different bracket. Yes, we all know that they are one of the best, one of the coolest, one of the most sought after Japanese cars that you can buy, but they're almost in a legendary list. They shouldn't even be considered the best because of course they're going to be in the top 5 anyways. So let's let some other cars that are actually cool be in that list. And so what we're going to do, we're going to talk about my top 5 underrated Japanese cars. Now, before we get into it, I have to say this is in no rhyme or reason. This list is just top 5. This does not mean that one is better than the other because of how it ranks. I'm going to go 1 through 5. That doesn't mean 1 is better than 5 or 5 is better than 4 or whatever. It just means it's 1 through 5. They're just numbers. Don't read into it. I'm also letting you guys know, give me hate, give me shit, fuck me up down in the comments. That's totally fine. But I also will let you know, this is my opinion. If you guys have a different opinion, a different list, drop them down below. I love to learn about new Japanese cars. I don't know what they all are. I know there are some cool ones that I have never heard about. And so drop them down in the comments. Let me know what your top 5 is because I want to know. If you guys are also listening to this in the podcast world, then hop over to the YouTube channel and hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and comment down below because we are well on our way to 400 subscribers. We just hit 318 subscribers last night, and so I want to say thank you so much for all the support. Also, last night we posted our 300 subscriber kind of thank you video. It's a cool one. I really enjoy it, so be sure, go over to the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this in the podcast world, come over to the YouTube side of things. Watch me work on my car. Watch me talk about cars in the YouTube podcast studio. And yeah, so let's hop right into it. Starting off with number 5. Okay, we're going to go 5 to 1. Now, again, I'm going to say, this is in no particular order. These are not better than any of the other cars. I think they're just cool cars. They're unique. They are interesting cars. And that's what I appreciate about Japanese cars in general, is that the 90s era of Japanese car, they were just throwing cool things at cars and doing whatever they wanted. Active aero. I mean, just whatever they could. And I think it's really cool. And so the number 5 car that we're talking about, a car that I would love to own one day, is the Nissan Pulsar GTIR. Now, this car is really cool for a few reasons. It's got an SR20 DET, so it's a turbocharged 2-liter all-wheel drive hot hatch. And Nissan built this car for, I think it's Group B or Group A rally, and unfortunately, this car just didn't do that well in the rally scene. It's a cool car. It's a cool all-wheel drive car. You can really modify them to just be all-wheel drive monsters. But truthfully, it's a fun car. It's just a cool little car that you can drive around. You guys will see pictures on the screen if you're watching on the YouTube channel. And so it's a cool car. Now, Nissan probably should have just stuck to making slidey boy cars, sticking to the drift scene, making the 180SX, the 240SX, all the Sylvia cars. But I really appreciate that they made this car because this is the era where Mitsubishi was really killing it, Subaru was really killing it in the rally game, and Nissan wanted a piece of it, and so they threw what they had at it. They made a really cool car. You can really do some cool things with it. I mean, it's an SR20 underneath the hood, so really parts are readily available. They're going to be pretty cheap. And you really don't have much to worry about. Now, rust is an issue. The back hatch, from what I've read, rusts a little bit, but pretty cool cars. I really like them. This is what they look like in stock form, and then I'm going to put some modified ones around them. I think they're really cool. Now, I'm not a guy that really loves yellow cars, but the Nissan Pulsar in yellow, to me, looks really good. And I would recommend you guys check them out, do some research. You can find them on Facebook Marketplace for maybe around 12 grand. And I think you might even be able to import them for just a little bit cheaper. But yeah, so Nissan Pulsar, really cool car. Nissan's way of getting into the rally scene, unfortunately, kind of failed. The next car we're going to talk about is actually a Mitsubishi, and this is for my off-roading guys. Now, if you guys don't know, I have personally been looking for a Lexus Gx470 for sale. I really want this as my new daily driver. I really want to get into overlanding. I want to take my girlfriend and my dogs out to, you know, just the country and enjoy some camping and kind of just get out of the city. And this Mitsubishi is definitely one of those cars that if I had the money, had the pocketbook for it, I would buy. Now, that doesn't mean it's expensive, but there's some quirks to it. So the Mitsubishi Belcia, is that how I say it? So it's a four-wheel drive. I'll put some pictures around. It almost looks like a minivan. It's a four-wheel drive overlanding beast. Now, if you guys want to stick out in the overlanding world and get something a little bit different than those 4Runner or Jeep boys, you guys can get this Mitsubishi Belcia. And I think they're pretty cheap. I think from anywhere from like 7 grand to 10 grand, you can get this Mitsubishi. And here's what's really cool. It's a JDM car packed with just off-road goodies. You can get it in an automatic or manual, four-wheel drive. It's got a center locking diff and, it's got a rear locking diff. And on top of it, it's attached to a turbo diesel engine. That means you guys have all the torque in the world. You guys have a long, reliable history of just Mitsubishi diesel motors. Now, the one thing here is that I really don't know how readily available parts are going to be or how inexpensive or expensive they are. I don't know that there's a huge aftermarket scene for them. I'm sure there is like a little quirky Facebook groups that you could find for these cars and really find some cool parts and bits. I really like the one with the pop-up tent and the rooftop tent and all that stuff. I think rooftop tents are so cool. And so when I get into overlanding, I will for sure be sporting a rooftop tent. Now, the interior is also pretty big, so if you want to sleep inside while you're overlanding or off-roading, you can sleep inside and enjoy the nice luxurious windows. This thing is great. It's funky, it's weird. Now, there's something you should know about me. I personally love funky JDM cars. I love them because they're just like beautifully ugly, okay? And like the Mitsubishi Belcia is not ugly in my opinion, but a lot of people might be like, ew, gross. But this thing, to me, is gorgeous. I love this car. I love so many of the weird Japanese cars that a lot of people would go, ew, gross, because I just think they're cool. They're quirky, they're fun. And hopefully one day I've got a really cool collection of them. Hopefully this podcast blows up, YouTube channel blows up, and I can do some of those cool things and buy those cool, quirky JDM cars and show them off to you guys. That way you guys can be more informed about the JDM car scene and not just know about the 180 SXs and the R34 GTRs. I want you guys to know about all of these cool little quirky Japanese cars because it's a lot deeper than just the R34 Skyline or the Toyota Supra. And so, you know, the Mitsubishi Belcia checks a lot of boxes. It's four-wheel drive, turbo diesel, manual or automatic. And I mean, if you want to go off-roading, you slap some off-road tires on it, rooftop temp on the roof, and you guys are set. You guys are good to go, and I'm sure you can tow quite a lot of cool things with it as well. Switching it up a little bit, and in fact, the next 3 cars are rear-wheel drive. And so I'm a rear-wheel drive guy. I love rear-wheel drive cars because you can have a lot of fun in them. Now, what's one con to a rear-wheel drive car? Usually, they're just 2 doors, and you can't put a lot of things in them. But what if I told you that Toyota made a beautiful 4-door, 1JZ twin-turbo powered sedan, right? Chase, say it ain't true. I can hear you typing away. That's right, the Toyota Chaser. The Toyota Chaser may not be the most underrated vehicle, but I wanted to put it on the list because truthfully, I had no idea it existed until 2 years ago. And with my name being Chase, I really want one of these cars so that I can just take the R off and then have a car with my name on it. I think it's pretty cool, and simply, I think these cars are awesome. You've got a lot of cool things going for you. Rear-wheel drive, manual or automatic, and if you get an automatic, you can easily swap like a CDO9 into them because it's got a 1JZ up front. And so what does that mean? That 1JZ, there's so many swap kits for it. So that means you can slap an adapter plate to that 1JZ and throw a CDO9, which is a Nissan transmission, have a 6-speed in it, and go to town and have a great time. And those CDO9s are almost bulletproof. They're really great cars, really great transmissions. And honestly, what more could you want than a straight 6 twin turbocharged sedan? I don't know of many other things that I want in life other than that. And I tell you what, I look at Toyota Chasers often. In fact, I look at them too often. I want to buy one so bad, and I promise you guys, I will own a Toyota Chaser one day. It just may not be soon, but one day, maybe a couple years, we'll let the savings account grow a little bit after we buy a house, after we buy a daily. We're going to buy a Toyota Chaser. That's next on the list, I think. Maybe even after a drift car. So maybe, we've got 4 steps to do, okay? And then Toyota Chaser. But we've got to get the channel to grow a little bit more. We've got to get the podcast to grow a little bit more. And then that'll be like a really special milestone car, I think. And so the Toyota Chaser is awesome because it's huge. It's massive. It's a 4-door car. And I don't know if you guys watch Adam LZ, but he did Drift Week maybe a couple months ago before COVID hit. And he took his Toyota Chaser out. And this car is great because it's huge. It's massive inside. And when I say huge, I don't mean like it's long like a limousine. I mean huge, like you can put a lot of things in it. And Adam LZ did just that. He had all of his tools, he had his jacks, he had his spare tires. And I think he even said that he fit 10 or maybe even 15 or 20 spare rims and tires in that Toyota Chaser with his tools. And he traveled across the country drifting with all that stuff. He just unpack it, repack it. I mean, that's really cool. And I don't know that you can find a vehicle today that's not a sedan or that's not an SUV that can do that. This car has a lot of cubic footage inside of it. I don't know if that's the right term, but it's got a lot of room inside that you can fit a lot of cool things. And so if you are wanting to get into drifting, you want a good, reliable engine and car, the Toyota Chaser is a great car for that because you can also fit all your tools and all your spare wheels inside that car, and it's kind of like an all-in-one toter home drift car combo. I'm sure you could even sleep in the back seat if you wanted to. But it's just a cool car. It's just a cool car. I think it's beautiful. I think the old school Japanese styling, that mid-90s, 94, 95, is exactly what I want. I want a JZX90. I know a lot of people love the JZX100. I personally want a JZX90, and I just want one. I want one so bad. I think about them often, probably too often, and I just love them. I think they're cool cars, super easy to work on, super easy to get parts for, and they're reliable as hell. It's a Toyota. It's going to run forever. You take care of it, it's going to run forever. So that's the Toyota Chaser. I hope you guys enjoyed the pictures. Hope they're popping up around. The next thing is, I don't know a lot about this car, but it's very similar to the Toyota Chaser. We're just shifting manufacturers. We're going to Nissan again, and we're talking about the Nissan Laurel. This is almost Nissan's answer to the Toyota Chaser. This is once again a 4-door rear-wheel drive, straight 6 up front vehicle. So on that plane, they are exactly the same. Styling, a little bit different. I prefer the Chaser over the Laurel, but for different things. The Laurel came in either a naturally aspirated or I believe a single turbo RB25. Now this is the same motor that goes in the R32, I think the R33, and the R34 gets the RB26, I think. I may be wrong. I don't know a whole lot about that, so bear with me. I know comment warriors, chill out. Don't, I know you're typing, just relax. I may not have gotten it right, and that's okay. But it's 4-door, rear-wheel drive fun. A lot of people drift them. A lot of people have fun with them. I just personally think the Toyota Chaser looks better. In my opinion. if you are looking for a good daily driver that you want to maybe be a stance boy with, a little stance, you want to slam it to the ground and maybe put some curtains on the windows and become a VIP car, I think that's a great car for it. The Nissan Laurel to me screams Japanese gangster car. And I don't know why, but it screams that for me. When I look at a Nissan Laurel, it just looks like a Japanese gangster would have owned one and maybe made some deals back there, or maybe, had somebody killed or something. I don't know. But I think they just look really interesting. I think they're cool cars. And similarly, they're very cool, just like the Toyota Chaser. They're just a little different, different motor up front. I think the 1JZ's a bit more reliable than the RB, but again, that's all up for debate. So moving on to the final car. Now, I have to preface this. The car I'm about to talk to you about is in sum, a legendary Japanese car. And I would agree with that. It's got pop-up headlights, it's part of the Mazda family, and it's the middle child in the realm of cars that it is with. And so, it may not be underrated, per se. But in my opinion, I think it is. This car is underrated because, like all middle children, it doesn't get the attention it deserves. This car handles just as well as its younger brother, and it's cheaper, has the same motor, and it's just as good at drifting as the other one. In fact, I think it's better because it's got pop-up headlights. It looks more kind of boxy JDM. Now, what car am I talking about? Some of you have probably already guessed, but enter the FC RX-7. This car, like I said, is the middle child. Its younger brother is the legendary FD RX-7 that basically is a legend. You see one and you just drool because rightfully so. It's a beautiful car. The FD RX-7 is a gorgeous car with its sloping lines, and you put a little bit of a body kit on it, and that thing is not only going to get you a lot of Instagram followers, but you're going to have a lot of dudes coming around wanting to talk to you about your car, which is exactly what we all want when we buy cool cars, right? I mean, that's why we buy, right? No? Okay. But the FC RX-7 has pop-up headlights. It has a rotary, I believe it's still the 13B, and you can either get it NA or turbo. What more could you want? The motor is cool. Gas efficiency, you don't need that when you're a car enthusiast. Fuel efficiency is the last thing we look at. We want to know how fast we can go, how reliable it is, and am I gonna get to do cool things with it? You can mod the hell out of it. And here's the thing. I guarantee you can go buy an FC RX-7 right now with $5,000 and have it on the track in no time. You cannot even get your foot in the door of an FD RX-7 for $5,000. You can't even look at an FD RX-7 for $5,000. Those cars are so expensive. But the FC, the middle child here, is cheaper. It didn't get the attention it deserved. It's a beautiful car. In fact, I think if you want to get into drifting and you've got the money and the time and the commitment and the know-how of how to maybe motor swap or whatever, the FC RX-7 is a beautiful chassis for that, because you get the cool styling of the S13, pop-up headlights, coupe or hatch, but you don't get the drift tax on those. Or you don't get, but that has drift tax. The S13 has all the drift tax. People want $7,000 to $15,000 for a, no motor, rolling shell of a car. And that's true. I've seen it on Facebook Marketplace. It's a real thing. But these FC RX-7s, if you know how to swap a V8, an LS, or a JZ motor into them, you're set. Easily throw it in there in a couple weeks and go drifting. Have a good time, and you're out the door for maybe less than 15 grand. And guess what? You will have a great time. Also, these cars with the rotary, if you know how to do rotary work, it's great. Use the FC RX-7 to your advantage. Buy the FC RX-7 to your advantage because it is a cheap car. You can find them really cheaply, really good price. And so I recommend it. So we've covered them all. Now, you guys may not agree with this list. Truthfully, thinking about the list that I just talked about, I may not agree with this list. There are some other cars that I wish I would have put on here. And I know I missed some. So because I know I missed some, I want you guys to drop them down in the comments. Let me know what I missed. What did I not talk about? What did I not cover? Drop it down in the comments. I can take the criticism. It's not going to hurt me. Take it down. Put them down in the comments. Let me know. And if you're listening to this podcast and you just absolutely have to tell me what I missed, come over to the YouTube channel and go to the search bar of YouTube and just type in Chase Monson, M-O-N-S-O-N. You'll find me. Come to this episode and let me know how I messed up, and I will happily respond to you and say thank you. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to leave you here. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. As always, let me know what I missed. Drop it down in the comments. Smash that subscribe button, 2020 style. Hit that like button. And as always, guys, peace out. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you next week. Peace!